So it's Raven Tactical here, and I was gonna do a bug out bag or my get home bag or the bag that I've been rucking with. Unfortunately, I went rucking on yesterday at my work for 5 miles, and I accidentally left it at work. So bad prepping moment there. What I do have is the medical bag that I usually carry in the truck. I kind of put all my medical stuff into one bag just in case. We do shoot a lot, we do hiking and a lot of activity stuff. So I think it's important to have kind of a bag that just kind of contains some of the first aid and some of the things that you're going to need. One thing we usually keep is I got the older style tourniquet. We have a few tourniquets. Some people carried 4 or 5 tourniquets, and that's great. This is just the one that I keep on the outside. I feel like for shooting, it is kind of an important thing. I used to kind of think it was a little bit of a joke, but I've seen some accidents where people get, how would you say it, make a mistake, and that's okay. I'd rather be safe than sorry. So in the front pouch, what we're gonna have is standard matches, because I still kind of think of this bag as if you had to grab it and go, you could still use it for starting a fire. You have antibiotic cream. You have a little bit of alcohol for either morale boosting or if you wanted to actually see if you can help for pain reducing. Ibuprofen standard, and I think this is just a wipe. Yeah, kind of a fresh wipe. And that's just in the front pouch. Now if we go to this bigger front pouch here, just gonna move this. I must have fell out of the box by now. So a lot of my bags I try to keep a Gerber multi-tool, or this one is a Gerber. I got a couple Leathermans too. I think these are more useful than a pocket knife. I mean, you get pliers, which is really cool. Then you have different functions. You get a knife, or you get kind of a fishing hook line. I mean, just the pliers alone is just such a valuable tool, and it cuts down on having more than one tool. It does a lot of things. I'd recommend everybody at least have one with them. Keep that in there. These are military style chem lights. They're really decent. I'll even break one open. They're really cool. They last a lot longer than your standard, what would you call it, like party lights. You just toss that to the side. Snap it, you break it. Obviously it's pretty light in here, but you're starting to see it. The chemical makes, and they stay for about 8 to 12 hours. And they're pretty nice. You can hang one in your tent, or you can hang one if you needed to see what you're looking at. This right here is needle decompression. So if you had a collapsed lung, and I don't recommend anyone doing this unless you're trained on it, but you can actually reinflate the lung. So you can actually get back someone who has a collapsed lung and is having a struggle breathing. If you know what you're doing with it, you can actually jab them with it. I'll give you a description of what it was. If you've seen the movie Three Kings, they were like special forces guys when they went to go steal Iraq's gold. The one guy got shot in the chest and he had a collapsed lung. They shoved the needle into him, and he kind of had that one. It's basically a one-way valve that allows him to breathe without sucking in air through his chest. It's pretty cool. Definitely not necessary for everybody, but I took the training on it, so it's actually pretty good. It's good to have. Sucks to be you if you don't. Just a cheap folder knife that I keep in here. I kind of store knives throughout the whole thing just to keep things so that if you have a knife or you need a knife, you kind of have it on hand. It goes in tandem with the Gerber. This bag itself is just your standard, I don't know, you can get them at a surplus store for about 30 to 40 bucks. Some people use them as bug out bags. I just don't use it because I feel like it's a little small for myself. This right here is Army Basic Training crack candy, or it's just basically cough drops. What it is, it's sugar free, so you're not going to get a sugar boost. But what it is, if you're a morale boost, you want something sweet. I you want something sweet, your throat, is sore from yelling, or you're outside in the winter. This is kind of just a morale boost kind of thing, and it kind of keeps your throat going. It's good to have this kind of thing. Sugar ones, maybe this is something that you could give to a kid or something that, if he's injured or hurt, kind of boost his morale up a little bit and keeps him a little bit focused. You might think it's candy. We used to use it as candy because you couldn't have anything in basic training for candy. Standard SAM splint. The cool thing about a SAM splint is you can fold it in so many different ways, and you can keep people's arms, I don't know if this is going to show it, but you can kind of keep someone's arm mobilized, and then you just wrap gauze around it, or you can put it, sandwich them in. It can be turned into 1,000 different shapes. They're very cool. They're not even that expensive. They're very nice. So this would be more if you broke a bone or you sprained your leg. You can splint someone. You can keep the arm mobilized while you're actually moving them, or maybe they need to basically be one position and they can still walk. So this would be good. I'd recommend getting at least one of those. This one is the Israeli bandage, and it's basically just a compression or a sling. So I'm not going to take it out, but what it is, you can use it as an improvised tourniquet. It's not as good as the cat tourniquet, but you can use it as a bandage to wrap. It's kind of like that triangle bandage you normally would see. It probably doesn't make sense unless I pull one out. I'm going to see later on if I have one that's not opened. I'm trying to keep this stuff a little bit sterile. And then the same thing in this one. This is basically a ace wrap. You can use it for two things. With that SAM splint, you could pull it really tight against the arm. You can use this for sprains. You can use this for kind of keeping a bandage close to if you need to. Standard ace wrap. If you've ever done a lot of rucking or a lot of hiking, sometimes you're going to run into the problem of that you will kind of sprain your leg or sprain your foot. For me, sometimes I sprain my ankle after a long, consecutive, running or something. It happens. It hurts. So this is the main part of it. I always try to keep a set of mechanics gloves with me. They're not super sterile gloves, but if you had if it was like sharp areas or you're picking logs up to kind of move stuff, or you kind of needed to protect your hands somewhat, this will work. Kind of the best thing I would say is these baby wipes. Excuse me. Not only for yourself for cleaning up, or if you had to use the bathroom, or if you just wanted to take a quick bath because you felt dirty, or you needed to get the salt off you if you're chafing bad. These work. You might have to add a little water to them to re-wet them, but these are a godsend when there's no showers, no nothing. And it helps you clean up too. If, like, let's say there was a mess and you're cleaning it up, this can get the blood off your hands too. This is something interesting that we found. What it is, you get 12 compression towels, and all you do is you add a little bit of water, and it turns into a expandable towel, so you could dry yourself off with. I haven't quite used these too much. We're gonna probably maybe try to use them when we go doing a camping ruck at the end of August. Here is just medical tape, and basically it's self-explanatory. It's medical tape. You can use it to build something, or you can use it to make like a SAM splint, or you can use it to do other things like keeping bandages on or keeping gauze on. Pretty useful, very sticky. These are EMT shears. These things will cut through a small coin. They can cut through tin. They can, as our EMT friends call it, they'll get you naked. They'll cut through all your jeans materials, and you want to get people to see the wound, so you're going to maybe have to cut their clothes off. This is compression gauze. So let's say you had a severe wound, an open wound. You can shove this compression gauze into that wound, and kind of compact it down, and it should swell up a little bit and stop the bleeding, and then you would wrap it. Very, very good. Very bad day if that person has such a big wound, but think about it in the instance if you were in the woods cutting trees with a chainsaw. This could be something that you could use if someone mistaken had a chainsaw accident. Standard bandana. You can use it for several different things. You can wet it and keep your neck cool. You can wet it to keep the person you're working on cool. You can make different things for like head bandanas to keep mosquitoes off. Just got a million and one uses. This is Techiderm. So let's say you had a wound and you were still in the woods, or you still had to go through marshland or wetland. Techiderm is a clear bandage that would go over your wound, cut, stitches, and it should keep everything sterile. It should. The whole concept is kind of like covering a wider area so that water, bugs, and any infection can't get into it. Maybe not necessarily the most needed thing you need, but it works, and it's a good thing to have for keeping everybody, at least the victim or the person that got injured, clean. More gauze, more compression. A lot of my stuff I usually throw a notebook in there. Perhaps I had to take notes on different things. Let's say we wanted to, let's say the world is still going, right? Well, you want to maybe like record a couple of the things you did, so that when you do bring her to the EMT, or you bring the person to the hospital, you can go, hey, you know what? We applied this, this, and this. Hey, remember we applied a tourniquet. Sometimes things, in the heat of things, you forget. Standard toothbrush holder. For me, these things are pretty useful. It's obviously got a hole in it, but you can either put like a toothbrush, or you can put some sort of thing that you want to keep somewhat dry. It still vents, so you can't submerge it, but at least it keeps it from getting saturated completely. Let's see. This right here is the field dressing bandage. This one's huge. This is the bigger one that you would have. It's got kind of a, let's see this, we'll show the diagram. This is the one that's kind of has a, kind of a, what would you call it? It has kind of a big bandage front, and then it's got wings that you kind of wrap around it, and it works. It works really well for, like, again, if you had chainsaw, a gunshot, something that was pretty severe that you need to stop the bleeding, which is kind of the first thing you need to do, is assess the situation, and you need to make sure the scene is safe, or the area is safe, and then you need to start working on things like bleeding and airway. Let's see. This is another trauma bandage. It's kind of similar to the other one that we have. Again, you'd shove this one. You'd basically use this and wrap it around. They used to call this one the Israeli bandage, but then people got upset because of Israel. So I don't know if you can see it, but on here it shows a clip. So this is the one that you're going to get. You're going to put your bandage, put everybody on, stop the bleeding, and then you're going to use this and go over the top. And what it is kind of a bandage that you're going to, it's like that ace bandage where you're going to wrap, but it's got a clip in here that at some point you clip it back, and then you go the other way, and it gets really, really tight. And then you kind of finish it off and clip it in. This is an extremely good thing to have. It's probably the best compression you're going to get in the field. You can get all this relatively cheap. We got them all at surplus stores. You can also order them online. So I'm going to put that one back in. Again, kind of a stormproof match. This was a better idea than having the other matches, but I kind of figured as two as one. Being able to start a fire, or being able to like cauterize something might be necessary. Lanolin or lanocaine, bug bites, itches. You don't want to be someone scratching and driving themselves nuts. That's one thing right there. And then basically this is triple antibiotic cream. If you think about it, antibiotics are what's going to keep you from getting infected. And if you get infected and you start getting a blood infection, you start getting that red line. So I've seen it where even at my work, where a guy got a small cut on his hand, and then the next day he's like, dude, I got to go in. He had a red line going all the way up his arm. And then by the time he got to the ER, it was already going up his shoulder. So yeah, it's a good idea to be clean. I got a little bit of a sports-induced asthma from running and all that, but I keep an extra one in here. The wife has more severe asthma than me, and people in our group tend to have asthma. And under duress and all the stress, it helps to have something where maybe it would calm you down, or you can get more air into you so that you're not feeling panicked. That should be everything in that pocket. I just want to see if there's anything in this one. And in the back is a standard map of Wisconsin. Maybe not necessarily what you need, but the map is pretty cool. I recommend, like I said with the bike map, keep maps with you so at least you can kind of figure out where you're at or where you need to go. I mean, the whole point of a map, right? So I think it's important to have it. And if you're kind of getting lost, or you're trying to mark it out when you're trying to talk to EMTs on the phone, maybe you guys went hiking and you don't know quite where you're at, but you can kind of pinpoint where you were and where you're between. So hopefully this helps. This is just a medical bag I put together for emergencies. This could get strapped to a ruck if you really needed to, and that was kind of the intent why it's a smaller bag. You could strap this whole thing right up to the ruck and put it on top, and then you have kind of more of a trauma first aid bag. Our EMTs and medics in the group, they have a lot more. They pretty much, that's their focus, is actually being the ones that have the bigger stuff. But this at least is a start for me as the average person who only went through the Army CLS side of it, which is like very entry level EMT. But anyways, hopefully this helps you guys. If you're going to build a bag like this, the bag itself is about $30 to $40. You can get them at any surplus store, I think. I'll try to find one and put it in the link. If you're wondering what this is, it's just a keychain. You can put your keys on it and it extends out. That's really all it is. And like, subscribe. The video is a little bit longer, but I kind of went through a whole bag setup. So hopefully you found it interesting. If you think I need something else, comment. If you'd like something or want more information, you can email me. You can definitely tell this is still going good. So hit like, subscribe. Thank you.